Good morning and welcome to episode 96 of Getting Rich. I'm your host, Rich Checkan, president of Asset Strategies International, and today is Wednesday, November 2nd, 2022. Well, last week on the 27th, the gross domestic product numbers for the third quarter came out, and they were an anemic 0.6%. Now that is positive, so it is growth, albeit anemic, but the spin doctors came right out and the headlines read that we are on a pace for 2.6% growth on an annual basis. And I guess that's true if we had 4 quarters of that reading, but the previous 2 quarters were flat and negative, so we're certainly not on that pace for the year. The reality is our economy continues to be very sluggish. That's one of the 3 characteristics of stagflation. The FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, started meeting again yesterday, and they'll be meeting today. At 2 o'clock, they'll post their interest rate decision, and at about 2:30, we'll see Chairman Jerome Powell's comments. There's a lot of speculation about when the Fed will pause, when the Fed will pivot. I expect fully that they will raise another 75 basis points here in November. I expect they'll do it again in December. We don't know for sure. We'll see when it all comes out. But the impact of that is virtually nothing. I mean, it still is going to leave us at about 4 to 5% negative real return when you look at the cost of inflation. So the bottom line is this is not going to help. They will pause and they will pivot. I think it comes after December. Again, we'll see. They're going to have to because they cannot raise interest rates to where they need to be to tackle inflation because they cannot afford to service the debt at those levels. Let's take a look at the markets and then we'll touch on a question I got from a good friend and colleague over the past couple weeks. Today, gold is trading at $1656.30. That's down 0.8% from last week at $1670.90. Silver is up 0.25% to $19.75, up a nickel from $19.70 last week. Platinum is up 1.4% to $959 an ounce from $946 last week. And palladium is down 1.3% to $1,993, and last week it was sitting at $20.20 an ounce. The gold-silver ratio dropped slightly to 84:24, with silver slightly outpacing gold, and the US dollar is up slightly at 111.25 versus 110.29, but a far cry from the 116 we saw just about a month or so ago. I had a quick question from a good friend and colleague, Mike Cobb. I'll be seeing him, along with hopefully many of you, in Las Vegas at the end of next week. The President's Week annual conference, number 26 for Joel Nagel and Mike Cobb, starts the 12th through the 15th. I'll be flying in on the 11th. But Mike asked me if I'd seen some increased buying out of the US and the EU, concerned about trying to beef up the gold reserves with the debt that's racking up. And the reality is, I don't know that we've seen any EU or US buying in some time. We are seeing buying coming out of Europe from individual countries. We are seeing buying coming from potential enemies, if you will, of the US. The problem is most countries are shedding some dollar reserves for gold reserves. And the reason for that is simply the U.S. weaponized the dollar in this fight against Russia over the Ukraine battle. And a lot of our friends, not just our enemies, are saying, hey, what if I cross the U.S.? They're going to cut me off from the dollar money supply and international payments. So a lot of people are changing their mix of reserves in favor of gold as a result of the U.S. actions of weaponizing the dollar. We'll talk about this and many, many other things in Vegas, like I said, from the 12th through the 16th, or correction, the 15th. And hope you join us. You can sign up right under this video. And in the meantime, I want you to go ahead and like us. Subscribe to us, send us your comments and questions, follow us on social media, follow us on our newsletter. We've got a great newsletter coming out tomorrow with guest articles from Porter Stansberry, who will be our fourth quarter On the Move webinar guest on November 21st, and the Aiden sisters. You don't want to miss tomorrow's Information Line newsletter, but in the end, the thing you never need to forget is this: getting rich starts with keeping what's yours.